This is the Extra Point Podcast from Arizona's Family.
Well, off we go into Week 5 of the Arizona high school football season. Jose Garcia back in studio here at Arizona's Family from AZ Preps 365 to preview the matchups. First off, do we need a raincoat this week? How are we looking weather delay-wise?
Man, it's looking good. But, considering all the lightning and everything that's been happening in the first month, I got to say, maybe that lightning foreshadowed what was going to happen this week because Sports Illustrated definitely dropped a bomb, and it doesn't paint a pretty picture of Arizona high school football.
No, doesn't at all. Julia Lopez, by the way, has been out and about, and I don't think she's had a game without a lightning delay yet. So she brings the lightning. Arizona's Family is Julia Lopez. All right.
We'll blame her.
Yes, we can blame Julia. That's the only thing we can blame for her for. But, yeah, let's get into it because the Sports Illustrated article, I think, hit, and everybody's like, huh. What? Whoa. All right. So what does this say about Arizona high school football, in your opinion?
It's something that's been happening. It's not the first time. We're not immune to transfers, people traveling long distances. It's been happening since the 1980s, to be honest with you, but this paints a picture of what's happening currently. And also to take something in consideration, this is a small percentage of programs, over 95%. It's not happening that way, but obviously when it comes to the elite programs, they're the ones that get the most attention, of course. And
do you think with the AIA and Chaparral, there will be a conversation there, or that they're going to have to dig into this a little bit? What does Chaparral football look like in the next couple years? We've had podcasts, we've talked about this. This is kind of very American in a lot of ways. You go where the opportunity is. And is it illegal here?
Keeping up with the Joneses. It's not. Some of the things that were brought up in the article, and it just came out today, apparently there's been some discussion now with Chaparral and the AIA in terms of something that was written that a group was receiving gas money to travel from Goodyear all the way to Chaparral to have some kids play at Chaparral. So that's one of the bombshells that was in the story, and that's apparently already the ball is rolling there, and people are starting to discuss. I know Chaparral is talking to David Hines, the executive director, about that specific detail. But that's the latest on that.
Yeah, and it's if you read the article, I was in Texas when H.G. Bissinger wrote the Friday Night Lights, the famous book. That wasn't exactly a glowing representation of Arizona high school football, but you think about, that kind of created what it is today. And if you look at just how much interest there is in Friday nights and the games that we're gonna preview here, it just grows and it grows and it grows.
In some circles, Mark, and it's unfortunate, there's a warped view of what high school sports is all about, and it's unfortunate. There's been discussions about what do you do, how do you curtail this. The AIA implemented a 5-game sitting rule where if you transfer, you sit out for 5 games, but if something else changes, then what happens next? There's going to be something else, and the solution, in my opinion, is don't transfer, don't drive. But we all know that's not going to happen. It's going to continue to unfold like that, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, and it is, and it doesn't paint a very good light on what we love and get excited about. So,
and there are some, by the way, there are some legitimate hardships.
Sure,
there are some kids who transfer for the right reasons, and parents do it for the right reasons. And I don't want to take anything away from that,
right?
Whether, whatever you're doing athletically or education-wise. So, but at the same time, it paints a bad picture on those folks who are doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, and usually everybody that I've texted would want to talk about it. A lot of people, you texted and said, "Hey, do you have a comment on this publicly?" And there was just a lot of, I just kind of want to focus on my team. I don't want to be the negative voice towards this, that there was a lot of frustration that there was such a target put on the kids over at Chaparral, the young kids, and how many of them would actually stay. I didn't go. I did reach out to Chaparral, didn't hear back from them, so I don't really know what their response is. But it's going to be interesting to see how they respond the next couple weeks here.
I know Coach Barnes at Chaparral. I know his dad really well as well. A very, very fine gentleman. 2 guys who have done a lot football-wise in Oklahoma, in Arizona. What I do know is that those guys, are going to look into what happened here with especially with that gas money that was brought up in the story. They're going to find out. Obviously, it's not a good representation on their program, and I know they're very upset about what's happening there. I know Coach Mons. I know Coach Sadevsky. They've never been punished for recruiting or anything of that sort. So it does paint a bad picture on those programs that have put Arizona on the map when it comes to football, who have done a lot of positive things, to be honest with you. But again, there is a bad element out there. I'm pretty sure you're from Texas and you've seen it yourself.
Yep.
You know, growing up in that state.
Yeah, but until moving out here, I'd never seen it at the level that it was. And it almost has just become like, well, that's just the way it is. Those are the rules. And people are all trying to win. So, I mean, you look around and you're like, that kid's transferring mid-high school. You didn't see that a whole lot.
No, and the youth side of it, now at the junior high level, the Pop Warner level, you think that, you know, what's going on at the high school level, you really need to look at what's happening at the youth level, because that's where it begins. And unfortunately, some parents, some coaches, some trainers, as I mentioned, have a very, very bad view about what high school sports and youth sports are all about. And it's unfortunate. And it permeates not just in football, basketball as well is another. That's another topic for another day, to be honest with you.
Right. I got my kids in those, and it's you almost are like, are we professionals here? Do I have to hire a private coach in between the 9 practices that we have to run around? And you know, I'm helping produce the show while driving around while eating dinner. Yeah, it's a little nuts.
The starting point of all this, this is just my opinion, it's just what I've been reading and looking up. We've had this since the 1980s in terms of people traveling and keeping up with the Joneses and going where the elite programs are. And during the 1980s, you started to see the middle class, the numbers go down there. And obviously there's this big disparity. And if you look here at Arizona, where you could look at high school football, it's been more than 40 years since the Phoenix Union District School won a state championship. So you see that where it all started in the 1980s, and from studies that I've read, just the disparities between the have and the have-nots and the middle class going down, that's played a big role in it when it comes to the high school sports aspect.
Right. It's definitely not an easy subject to wrap your head around, and what you do about it. It does seem like there's going to need to be some sort of legislation here.
There's some dysfunction. Indeed, and definitely we need to take a deeper dive into it.
All right, well let's take a deep dive. Let's jump on the AZ family, AZ Preps 365 school bus as best we can and transition
I like
from
that.
There we go.
Is that a new thing?
We do. We need
a graphic.
We need like a school bus that drives all
Yes.
around. Yeah, maybe we can do that on front. Maybe we get you like a school bus.
Let's do that.
Yes, no gas money.
No,
no.
Are you going to be driving? Or do you wanna-
I could be driving, waving.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay.
And
okay.
Julia, you know, if it looks like it's going to rain, I'm sorry, Julia, but we're going to have to make you wait there at the bus stop.
she wants to be here, by the way, but her off day is Thursday, so we got to figure out a way to get Julia Lopez, J-Lo, on the podcast. All right, so first off, where do you think we should send Julia this week?
Liberty, Saguaro.
Yeah.
That is the marquee matchup, I think, this week. And we mentioned Saguaro again because it seems like they've been playing in the biggest game of the week since the start of the season. I'm looking forward to this matchup. The chess game that's going to be played here in the first couple of series. You got some excellent coaches on the defensive side, offensive side. The big question for me going into this is that Liberty has played in 3 blowouts. So are they going to be ready for what Saguaro is going to bring? Because they haven't been really tested up to this point.
Yeah.
The same picture was last week with Chandler and Saguaro, too. Chandler hadn't been tested, and Saguaro punched Chandler in the mouth right from the start, went up 14-0, but Chandler's counterpunch was a little bit better.
Yeah, that was incredible. And it was kind of like right before showtime, so I still got to go back and watch that game. And
Same here.
And figure out exactly. Dylan Rayola looked like he kind of just settled in, and Chandler's talent took over. But
Khalil Valentine.
Yeah.
Just player of the game, to be honest, what he did as well.
Yeah. Could we see those two again in the Open Division playoffs? Is Saguaro going to beef up a little bit by then?
For sure. No, I think it could be potentially a new, those two meeting in the Open. And the big question also with Saguaro is if they were to lose against Liberty, that's 3 losses. And Saguaro hasn't been through a 3-loss season since Jason Mont's first season. And if they do end up with 3 losses or more, are they an open team as well?
Yeah.
I think they are, just because of the new way we're selecting teams to go to the Open. And that schedule, that murderer's row of schedule that they've had, I think definitely makes them an open team.
Well, you think about Liberty last year, God, I mean, they were so close to taking down Chandler. I was at that game. I brought my boys. We just watched it for fun. I didn't have to work. one of the best football games I've ever seen. What do you think a matchup like that, knowing that they could hang with a Chandler, what does that do for the program this year?
Unfinished business is for Liberty, and it hasn't just been last year. It's been the last couple of years. They've won state championships, but they want to do it in the open, and this is going to be a test as to where they're at, and not just this week, but next week when they play Basha as well. But yeah, they've got the potential to be in there, and a very, very experienced defense, a very, very explosive offense. As I already mentioned, the coaching on both sides. Travis Guiney's one of the best defensive coordinators in the state. Jason Mons offensively. I mean, I can't wait to see what matchup happens there between those two. Yeah, they have it all. Yeah. They do, and they can make a run at that open title finally. And I think everything that's happened to them in the past is pushing them in that direction to hopefully one of these days win it.
Is it Friday night yet? And you know all the Liberty folks in the West Valley going to be making their way to South Scottsdale, and that's going to be a fun one. The weather might be a little better. I might have to go tag along with J-Lo and John Gustafson, our sports photographer.
I might do it as well if it's okay.
Are you going?
Actually, I have to host the radio show, wrap-up show on Friday, so I won't be able to go. But I will follow you guys on Twitter if you guys will be posting everything.
The school bus.
I'll give you I'll send you a shout-out during
All
the
right,
radio show.
So I think we need a map up here. But if you're here in South Scottsdale, we're going to head east, kind of southeast, and go down to Highland High School.
Yes, Gilbert.
So this is an interesting matchup because Highland is a team that's had a lot of success. Can they take down a big dog like Hamilton?
Yeah, I think in this one it's going to be Highlands D against Hamilton's offense. I think in the last two games, Hamilton has scored over more than 100 points, and Highland has given up only 14 points in their last two games. Big matchup, and I think open tournament implications in this one as well. We'll see what happens, but for sure, both teams want this victory because it's definitely going to count a lot when it comes to the power rankings and the points. By the way, the power rankings come out, I think, on the 11th. Do
you have the calculator over there? Are you in charge of those on AZ Preps 365?
Is it the abacus? Is that thing that you got to do that?
Yeah. I'm gonna take off my shoes.
Yes. So
I'm going to run out of things to count here. And yeah.
I have the Texas Instrument
there we go.
calculator from back in the day as well that I use also that I
If you need me to get like pi r squared or volume or that's about where my math. That's where my journalism degree started. So Highland Hamilton, that's a fun one there. Let's stay out east. Desert Ridge hosting Queen Creek. Queen Creek won the matchup, the Battle of Queen Creek last week. That was pretty interesting.
Indeed, and it was a good matchup. ALA Queen Creek, despite the loss, proved themselves again going up against a 6A team that they're a legitimate team. Queen Creek, one of the more physical teams that we've mentioned before in the state, going up against a Desert Ridge team that upset Williams Field last week.
That was a shock.
Yeah, for the biggest shocker in the state for its first victory of the season. So Major Wooden, their quarterback, threw for 5 touchdowns.
Is there a better name, by the way, in Arizona high school football?
It's got to be right up there. Zeus Pender Nation.
Yeah, that's a good one. We need a poll.
Yes, let's do it. I think Trivium Prep has another kid too somewhere.
That's right. Oh, we had him the first
hero.
week.
I forget what it is. I forget what his name is. But let's do an all name team.
We should
next
have them all in studio.
Yes.
I don't know if they're all fit, but they could come in studio here and be part of the podcast.
Yeah, indeed. Desert Ridge. What a story with him, with Roy Lopez, the head coach. His son plays for the Texans. I'm pretty sure you know that. And, great coach. Did some fabulous things while he was at Marcos Deniza, and for them to get that victory last week. Now. I think they're finally, I don't know if they're going to make a run now going up against Queen Creek, but that's going to be looks like a very competitive game.
And for those of you jumping in the school bus and are trying to head north, Desert Ridge High School is actually not north. It's one of the many confusing things about just the names of the high schools. It's Desert, Mountain, Cactus, Shadow Ridge. That mountain. Yes. So there's got to be a mountain. There's got to be a desert. And then just take your other landform. But, Desert Ridge is out east, and it should be a good matchup.
When it comes to originality with the names, I'm sorry, Arizona.
Name them after presidents. Can we do that?
Yes.
I don't know. Jose Garcia.
I put you in charge of the name. Every time we get a new school, I'm going to put you in charge of naming the school.
Sports stars. You could have Luis Gonzalez High. You could have Randy Johnson High. Larry Fitzgerald High. Just saying.
And all the new high schools. And then there's some new ones that are going to spread out there. Contact us.
Yes.
Contact Mark and ask Mark, what we should have for new nicknames and new school names.
In Millennium, change your name to the Falcons. I'm not going to stop. We have beef. I asked Josh Rojas about that the other day in the Diamondback locker room.
Easy there because that's my hood, by the way.
Do you think they'd change it to the Falcons?
I don't know.
I mean, are they married to the Tigers? Like, is there a lot of pride in being the Millennium Tigers?
They would be the first one. I've never heard of a high school changing mascots. I mean, it's,
the Star Wars thing. There's merchandising.
We do have some original ones. You criminals?
Yes, go back to that. Yes. Right. Oh, how many shirts would you sell?
Exactly.
All right. Well, maybe that's a good idea.
One of Mark's
bad ideas lead to good ideas.
I'm sorry. We're on a different bus now. We're on Mark's
The bus has gone off the tracks.
That's all right.
All right. So back on the tracks. Our AZ Preps 365 game of the week. ALA Queen Creek. The battle of ALAs. ALA Gilbert North. Does Queen Creek bounce back after that game last week?
It's going to be a competitive one for sure between this two. It's a pick'em game, to be honest with you. Adam DeMonte of ALA Gilbert North. What a game he had last week, I should say. 7 TDs. He's done it pretty much the whole last year, by the way. 7 TDs against a very, very solid Prescott team, one of the favorites up in the Grand Canyon region. ALA Queen Creek, just with that coaching staff alone, right? Ty Detmer, Max Hall. It's a solid.
Is Jim
squad.
McMahon on that staff? We got to get all the BYU quarterbacks.
By the way, I hear he lives in Arizona.
Yeah. We always get pitches from his new business and stuff like that.
Let's get him on.
Yeah, I don't think he wears shoes though. I don't think it would matter. But yeah, all the BYU quarterbacks, including McMahon.
Just what we need, more wackiness in Arizona.
All right,
Randy Reisdorf, the job that he's done over at ALA Gilbert North. Ryan Mesa, the wide receiver. Drew Coward, the quarterback at ALA Queen Creek. Bunch of great players, great coaching staffs, and I'm expecting a very, very competitive and very good game. If you want to get on there, there's a room on the bus. Please go check out that game.
Is there an ALA trophy, whatever is the best ALA team? Because you've got 2 more in the Valley, is that right?
Yes, there's one, by the way, you got to keep your eye on. The Guardians out in Waddell.
Yeah.
First year.
Oh, in Waddell. Okay, so we're in
way west. Yes.
Way west.
Can we do that with the bus?
No, we can't. We don't have the touch screen yet. Okay, but we're going from way east to way. Yes. Okay, we're just gonna put a map up here.
Is there one of those pointers we could
That's
do?
a great. Okay, we will do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
On Waddell, keep an eye on this team. They lost their first 3 or 4 games, I want to say, but they are undefeated now in region.
Yeah.
First year AIA program. Gave Push Ridge, one of the top teams in 3A teams, a good game for the first quarter or two. So just keep your eye on it. But yes, ALA everywhere. ALA West, ALA North.
Right.
So, then maybe they should have their own little cup.
Our producer for ALA Queen Creek asked last week, who won the Aliqua game? We're like, where's Aliqua? Aliqua, Arizona? It took a minute, but we figured it out.
ALA Queen Creek, speaking of them, I forgot to mention the first charter school to win a state championship in Arizona, the first charter school to make the open title game as well. So they're doing some special things over at the ALAs.
All right, so we take the school bus from east, we go west. Let's come back to in-town Phoenix, and you have St. Mary's, a proud program, many state championships there, trying to rebuild things. They've got a visit from a team from Tucson.
Tucson,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
CDO Canyon Del Oro.
Yeah.
This could be a potential 4A state championship preview, so keep an eye out for this game. St. Mary's.
So St. Mary's is rolling. I mean, you're a believer here.
I'm a believer. Yeah, I've been a believer since the season started, just because of all that experience they have on that team, including David Galindo, the dual quarterback star, star. So, I'm on that bus. And by the way, the coach of the St. Mary's Knights is named Jose. So anybody with a Jose, by the way.
Have we decided who our favorite Jose is here in Arizona? That could be our next poll. Who's your favorite Jose? And we'll name a high school after him.
And I know where I'm going to be on the list. I'm not even going to be on the list.
Oh, come on. You're an institution.
down below. But Jose Lucero has done a fabulous job. A graduate of St. Mary's, was over at Desert Edge and now doing some great things at St. Mary's. So, that great game coming up. CDO lost against Marana. Very tough loss last week. But CDO was missing about 6 starters in that game.
Oh, wow.
Yes, for unspecified reasons. But we'll see if those 6 players are back for CDO.
All right, and we got another team making a trip into the Valley. Flagstaff making the trip down to take on Marcos Deniza.
Yeah, Flagstaff's Chase Brown last week was impressive, Mark. 15 of 18, 405 yards passing, and 6 TDs. But that's not the impressive stat.
Wait, hold on. He threw for 405 yards, and that's not the impressive stat. What is the impressive stat?
First start and he's a freshman.
Wow.
Yeah, so keep an eye on for Chase
Wow.
Brown and what he ddid, and let's see what happens against a Marcos Teniza team that is 4-0 on the year. First time they've been 4-0, I think, since Roy Lopez was a head coach in 2010. So that should be an excellent matchup as well.
All right, have to get a camera over there, get Flagstaff on.
Big shout out to Anthony Figueroa, by the way, Marcos.
Yeah,
coach there.
yeah.
He's doing some fabulous. New turf field also. We got to take the bus.
There's a lot of those, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of those going. They have one. They put one in down at Mountain Point as well.
Yes, a lot of Phoenix Union District has turf fields as well.
Yeah,
so.
I was at North's the other night. It was really nice.
You a fan of turf or are you a fan of the grass?
You know, I'm always a fan of natural grass. I also feel like living in my wife and I have this discussion at home. I feel like it cools everything down. I feel like the turf, I understand it's cost effective, but I feel like it heats everything up. But we're getting to the point where that's not really going to matter. So
my only complaint, it's little, when it comes to the grass, you mix the grass, you mix in the humidity, the heat, the sweat. It's not a pretty smell during the summer.
Right, right.
Arizona,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
Right.
So yeah, if I'm old school, I do prefer the grass though. But the turf is a nice touch.
Well, and you get to the playoffs and the grass dies here, and you're not going to put down a rye. So I mean, there was a game what Perry played Mountain Point probably 6 or 7 years ago over at McClintock in the field. I mean, it was Brock Perry's senior year, and I mean, it looked like Linus from Peanuts. It was running down the field in just a big cloud of dead grass. So I get the turf, and it probably makes sense from a cost standpoint now.
Indeed, and I feel sorry for the winter team, the soccer team. I'm a big soccer fan, and when you watch the soccer teams playing in all that brown, it's not a good look.
It makes sense, and
yes.
multi-use, definitely. But yeah, so Desert Vista, Mountain Point, you got a game on the turf tonight, the Tukey Bowl.
Indeed,
Austin Scott, our intern's going down there to shoot some highlights. What do you think he'll see?
Very, very competitive game. It's been like that throughout the history. The 26th installment of this unique rivalry. It's they're located in southern Phoenix, the southernmost tip, nestled behind the South Mountain. That game, the teams have struggled somewhat this year, but anytime you get these two teams, it's always a 1-point game. Last year, it went into overtime, and Desert Vista ended up winning. I think Mount Point has a little bit of an edge going into this year with Chris Arvizo, Jalen Rushing, their running back. Their coach there, Coach Eric Lauer, who's done a fabulous job in rebuilding that program. He knows all about this rivalry. He was there as an assistant coach when I'm blanking on his name, and I can't believe I'm blanking on the head coach who was there at the time. But he knows everything about this rivalry, and I'm expecting a very, very solid game between these two.
All right, we'll be down there tonight. We'll have some post-game reaction on the Extra Point. Back here in Phoenix, I always like this one, Notre Dame Prep and Brophy. Just because of the student sections, they're so into it, and it means so much to them to have this rivalry. Two schools that are pretty similar and have similar goals.
The Holy War.
Yes.
Yes.
And you call it that? Yes.
I don't want to get in trouble now. So
when we go. Yeah. We'll sprinkle some,
please, a little bit.
Some holy water. Yeah.
Sorry, Mom. So, these two teams. And I think people were asking for this matchup a long time ago. And now that Notre Dame's been moving up in conferences, this is going to be their third meeting. And I think they split their first two. Excellent coaching staffs. George Prelock, Jason Jewell do a fabulous job with those programs. Notre Dame is 3-1 in the year. Cooper Perry.
Yeah.
The wide receiver, Notre Dame.
Yeah. I've been hearing great things about him.
3 out of his 4 games, 4 touchdown receiving in each one.
So cover him if you're Brophy.
Yes.
Jason Jewell, you should probably cover him.
Indeed. And keep an eye on Brophy, by the way. Even though they lost to Highland last week, they almost pulled it out against Highland. So even though they have a young team, maybe that was a little bit of a statement last week, staying in that game against Highland. And also Noah Trigueros, the quarterback for Notre Dame. Can't forget about him, doing a fabulous job. I think 14 touchdowns, 1 interception so far in the year.
So it's interesting because St. Mary's and Brophy can be home at the same time. They typically would go play over at Phoenix College, but Brophy's over at Central now. So we get 2 for 1 if you're in Central Phoenix and like high school football. You got 2 traditional powers playing at home.
The canal right down. I don't know if you made the cross, from going from Brophy to Central.
You could ride your bike in between games. Yes. Okay.
That would be what Green Bay Packers like, right?
Yes.
What they do in the preseason.
Or we just take the school bus.
Yeah. Do you have a 10 speed bike or maybe a tricycle? Or...
I do back home in Texas in my parents' attic. It's a tricycle. Okay. We'll save that for Nick King.
Which one, wasn't there one, the Hot Wheel one?
Yes,
remember? The one with the little brake.
Oh, it had
thing?
gears. Yeah.
Yes, I had that. Man, we're going way back in time.
We are.
I'm sorry.
We are. That's a whole other podcast.
Yes.
Though, our childhood. We'll dive into that. Jose's childhood at some point.
It's not a pretty one, by the way.
Well, it got you here. Look at what you become. We're gonna
I'm here with Mark. I'm big time now.
This is a big league podcast, and Arizona high school football is big time. We go from in-town Phoenix to Brophy. Let's go way out west now. The Battle of Surprise.
Yes.
I would bet there's going to be a good crowd at this game. Willow Canyon, Valley Vista. I hope Valley Vista is still doing this. Have you seen their intro?
No, I haven't.
A couple years ago I was out there. It was when Spencer Rattler was out there, and I typically can't get all the way out there and back. Purple smoke, and they play like a foghorn and say, "There's a monsoon warning. There's a monsoon warning," and the team takes the field, and it is awesome. It's somewhere on my social media.
No, and you need to get hyped before a game. That is the perfect way to do it. I got to go out there and check that out. And this would be the perfect time, obviously, to do it. And I know you mentioned rivalry. I mean, we have so many rivalries. It's not just the Tukey Bowl, but so many being played. Blaze Nelson of Valley Vista, the track champion. Keep an eye out.
His name's Blaze?
Blaze.
Wow.
And he's the track champion, right? Who would have thought?
Right. That's awesome.
And, of course, the sprinter, 100 and 200 meter.
Yeah, get him
champion.
the ball.
Yes, indeed. And Willow Canyon off to its first 3-0 start. Battle of Surprise. This is a good rivalry between the two teams. And first time, I think, with their best records going into this big matchup.
Interesting. Well, we'll keep an eye on that one. We go from way out west to kind of North Phoenix. Horizon.
Running out of gas.
Horizon. Yeah, we are. We're going to have to fill up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it in the bus to all of these, but Horizon, Pinnacle. Those are two high schools where the kids know each other pretty well. There's a pretty good likelihood that some have gone to school together at least.
Yes, and I think officially this became a rivalry last year after Horizon beat Pinnacle for the first time. Deuce Robinson, of course, the big time
He's fun to
5-star
watch.
star.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for him. But the story with Pinnacle is the development of their quarterback, Wyatt Horton, the sophomore, who's done a fabulous job managing things there. They defeated Queen Creek. That was a huge victory for them, and that definitely caught my attention and said, hey, these guys are legit now after that victory at Queen Creek. And Horizon's off to a slow start. They won the 5A title last year. They're 1-2, but don't sleep on Andy Linton and Matthew Kaufenstein, their tight end as well. Should be a good matchup again with these two.
I feel like the slow starts are now the thing in football. You know, you try to figure it out as you're going.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, just like you and I are.
Right. Figure it out as we're going. The Cardinals figure it out as we're going. Yes. Figure out this podcast as we're going. All right, next stop on the school bus here. Let's head back into Phoenix. Trevor Brown, Maryville. Two schools that there's a lot of pride in their football programs. I'm excited. I'm excited to give these kids some run.
The battle for the West Side. Yeah. One of my favorite matchups, and it just happens to be the 50th anniversary of this rivalry, original one. So, these two schools have been through their highs. They've been through their lows. But Trevor Brown is experiencing a little bit of a resurgence here.
Nice.
Yes, 4-0, second time ever in their 50-year history. Francisco Rangel, I can't say enough about the job that he's done there, taking over that program a couple years ago. Went and saw him over at West Point. Very balanced team, well coached, and the love that you see on the sidelines between the players and the coaches. It is a very, very tight-knit community. And even though Maryville's a little bit down, expect a very good fight from them and going into this matchup. I know they're ready to go.
Right. And those kids probably know each other pretty well too. And it's so neat to see when a coach comes in and kind of galvanizes the community and makes that the place to go on Friday night.
You do, and especially those programs that have been struggling, to see those guys come back up it's always a good thing to see.
Yeah, they've got tradition over there at both places. So you have a pretty neat story that's going to pop up on AZ Preps 365 here pretty soon over at Sierra Linda High School. What were you able to kind of unearth there? Pretty cool little human interest story.
Yes, thanks for the plug, Mark. I appreciate it. Ty Pryor, the new head football coach at Sierra Linda. Man, I can't believe he's a high school coach after everything that he's been through. Poverty, seizures. His grandmother was killed. She took care of him. He experienced so much during his upbringing, but along the way, he met some folks that took care of him, and one of them was Francisco Rangel, the head coach at Trevor Brown, by the way.
Very cool.
He moved in with Coach Rangel's family when they were in high school, when they were attending Raymond S. Kellis, and also a gentleman who played a big role in Coach Pryor's life, Derek Moore.
Why do I know that name? Yeah.
The lemonade vendor.
Hold on. The lemonade
Yes.
like Grandma made. Yes. Everybody in Arizona, if you've been to a Diamondback game, you know him, and he's a great dude. He recently had COVID, right? And then he's recovered?
He actually had a tumor in one of his adrenal glands.
That's what. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and it set him back.
Like he was in the hospital for a while. I mean, what a great dude. I'm glad to see him bounce back.
And he bounced back thanks to Ty Pryor or Sarah Linda. Ty started a GoFundMe account, and it raised nearly $140,000 for Mr. Moore.
Wow.
And Moore, Derek, by the way, just to let everybody know, he's making a comeback. He's apparently going to start his own little business. It's still going to be lemonade, just like Grandma made. So stay tuned for that. And the story will be up on AZ Preps 365. But I salute Coach Pryor for what he's overcome and what he's accomplished. What a great teacher, what a great man for those kids to have over there.
Very cool. All right, so we have, there's a ton to discuss. There's a big reason to go to AZ Preps 365 right now. There's all of this. There's a schedule for the week. No doubt there's a lot of reaction to the Sports Illustrated article. And we haven't even played a game yet this week, and it's already been a pretty crazy week. It's going to be a fun Friday night.
The whole year, to be honest, with the lightning and the delays, I'm like, what's going to happen next week? What's going to happen today even?
Well, if you see Jose Garcia on the sidelines on Friday night, be sure to give him a hug and tell him you're going to name a high school after him.
Yes. Well, no, not yet. No. Name it after Mark. Mark is the one that wants to change him. How about an Eminem? Mark McLean.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to see an Eminem.
All right. Sounds good. That's done. Good.
Let's do it.
The Extra Point Podcast is a production of 3TV, CBS 5, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.